I'm Mr. Forbes. This is my third video of the semester about the 4-Access modules done during the last 3 weeks. This was the hardest module to do because we never use Access for any of our schoolwork except for this specific class. Nonetheless, I now feel more confident with Access because of the amount of work I did for it. As a matter of fact, the In the Labs and the Access database that I created for my company helped me figure out how to do the steps learned in the modules for my personal use. In this first module, the main thing that I learned is how to create and modify my own forms and reports. This module was not so hard and it is the one where I learned the least new things because many of the steps in the Access modules done last year were similar to the ones in this module. However, I learned to create forms and reports and modify their features in Layout View, as well as how to display subtotals and totals in forms. I also learned how to decide whether I should do a form or report in the first place, which is the most complicated thing about this module in my opinion. I finally understood that the form is more appropriate when the goal is to view the information on the screen and gather information from different sources, whereas the report is a better choice when the data will be printed or presented to accountants or managers, for example. These concepts were learned and understood better when I created my own database for MOB training, for which I had to decide whether I needed to do a query or a form for the information that I wanted to show. For example, as you can see to the right of the slide, I decided to create a report that shows all the prices for each service we can offer and the payment method that are accepted for each of them. To continue, the second module was about creating multi-table forms, such as a form that includes a subform. This was new material for me and I learned a lot in this module. In my opinion, the most useful thing I learned in this module is how to add a picture or an attachment to a database because I feel like our generation values images and visuals a lot more than before, so images in databases will probably increase in popularity even if it can slow down the database. In fact, I am confident that the performance of the software will increase and the speed or performance of the software won't be a problem we will have to worry about in the near future. My MOB coaches table is a fair representation of the work in this module. I would use this report to have a binder of all our coaches so that if people want to contact any of them, they can easily find their coordinates. In this module, the main thing that I learned to do is to create a form and a report that include a subform and subreport in them. I have also learned how to modify the title of this form, align the fields and labels that are supposed to be on the same line, and add a text box in the form. In addition, I learned how and when to use yes, no, long text, and attachment data types. Related to that, I learned how to actually insert the picture or the attachment in the database. This module also taught me how to create a form that has a datasheet in it. In this third module of the Access chapters, I created and worked with different reports and queries. To begin, I created queries for the reports that I did afterwards. The queries are something that I had a hard time understanding at first. I did not fully understand why we did them in the first place. However, after researching a little bit on the matter, I learned that a query is useful because it provides data from one or more sources of information. The final Access project on my fictional company also helped me understand when queries could be used, which is pretty clear with my disciplines query. That query was useful for my table named Coaches and Their Clients, which I will show and talk about in the next slide. Moreover, in this module, I did a report with a subreport included in it. I added a title page number and the date to it, and added totals and subtotals to a report. In brief, this module taught me how to format a report. It also taught me how and why I should do a subreport, which is a very useful tool to use in a database in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I created a report similar from the one created in this module for my project, as you can see on the slide. This report includes the price of the services, and the subreport includes which payment types are accepted for that type of service. In this module, I figured out that subreports are used to display information that applies only for the record that is displayed. Finally, the fourth module on Access took it up a notch with the form. I learned how and why to add a combo box to a form, how to apply formatting styles to different sections with the Format Painter, how to add comment buttons to a form such as Add Record and Next Record, how to add and modify a subform, how to insert charts and modify their formatting afterwards, and even more. In this module, the comment buttons are what surprised me the most. It might sound dumb, but I did not know we could do such a thing with Access, and I feel like this can be very useful and save time for people or companies who regularly use some forms in Access in which they often have to add records, for example. Furthermore, I used the knowledge I gained in this module to do a subform for my form named Coaches and Their Clients. As you can see in the picture of my database, this allows to associate the clients that have the same discipline as the coach, which is calisthenics in this case. Subforms and subreports are also very powerful tools that Access provides, since they link different data sources and provide different information for every record. Furthermore, I learned to insert a tab control on my form, to which I added different charts. Charts are also very useful to evaluate the content of more information faster. They can also be used to present data to people such as directors of a company. To conclude, in my opinion, the Access modules are the most valuable modules we will do during the semester, because this is an application software that we do not use for other purposes yet, so we are way less familiar with it. The difference with the other chapters on Word, Excel, and PowerPoint is that I feel like I am learning more supplementary information, whereas for Access, I feel like I am learning everything from scratch, if that makes sense. As I have said in my other videos, doing the same kind of work for the book, but for my fictional company, helps me understand better the concepts that I did not fully understand at first, such as the use of queries, why we insert subforms and subreports, and why we create relationships between the different tables. Finally, creating my own database definitely made me very proud. I proved myself that I could work with Access and achieve great results.